Boom. All right. So if we're taking a look at this diagram right here, first of all, we need to identify what everything is. So these guys right here, the stack of them is called what? Okay, each individual one is a thylakoid, and then the stack is a granum. And what's important about them? What's on them? Even just more generally, yeah, we've got the pigments that are on the thylakoid membranes themselves. They are proteins and lipids that are embedded into the thylakoid membrane, okay? And so we've got two parts of photosynthesis that we're looking at. The part that's on the left, as like demonstrated by the thylakoid membranes there, and then the part on the right, which is just in the open space. We'll talk about that in a second. So on the left-hand side, what is this reaction showing you? Light dependent. And on the other side? Okay, two names that I'm hearing, either Kelvin or light independent. What's the difference between them?
Two different names for it?
Yep. One is pronounced light independent, the other is Kelvin. Otherwise, they're the same thing. Okay? So in the light dependent reaction, what do you need? Whoa! Okay. Easy as pie, right? What color light? Red? Blue. What about green? What happens when green light hits the pigments? If green light hits a green pigment, it looks green to us because that light is reflected, and that is what hits our eyes. So blue light, red light, that is useful for the light-dependent reaction. Green light ain't doing crap. Okay. So if we're thinking about energy conversions, the most important thing here that is happening in the light-dependent reaction is that the light that we have is getting captured, that energy from light is getting captured and turning into chemical energy, being converted into chemical energy in the forms of two molecules. What are they? Have we seen NADPH anywhere yet? So easy way to remember NADPH is the P there, think photosynthesis or plants. So NADPH is for photosynthesis. We're also making ATP, which means that light has come in and been converted into chemical energy in the NADPH and ATP. Okay? When we think ATP, what do we think of? Energy, batteries, right? This is what is keeping that cell going. If you are a plant cell, so long as you have light, you have battery power. You are going all day, every day, things are good. However, there's this horrible thing that happens every night, that if you're a plant, this isn't going to work well for you. Make sure you're paying attention right now. There we go, thank you. So, what happens every night? This light goes away, which means the plants can no longer make ATP. So if you are a plant, your best option is to save whatever ATP and NADPH that you've been making all day, every day, saving that in something that you can use for later. In this case, what is that energy source that is going to be saved for later? Give me chemical formula. So, recap of what's going on with energy. Energy from light is getting converted into chemical energy, is getting converted into a longer-term storage energy. We haven't included a lot of the players in all of this, so let's go ahead and talk about the matter, what chemicals themselves are involved. So, down here we've got NADPH and ATP. They have been reduced, meaning that they have now extra electrons. They have extra energy. Anytime something is reduced, what else has to happen? What goes with reduction? Oxidation. So if something is reduced, then something else has to be oxidized. What is that thing that gets oxidized? Let's take a quick second and look at what the chemical formula for photosynthesis is, first of all. What is the overall reaction? This part should be easy. Y'all should be like, oh yeah, chemical reaction for photosynthesis. I know it. So we've got carbon dioxide and water and energy getting converted into glucose and oxygen. Okay? That H2O, yeah.
Is water made in photosynthesis? I never understood that.
It's going to be made in cell respiration. It's going to be used here.
Oh, so it's. I was confused because I thought it's in one of the things.
It has
H2O and then H2O again.
Yeah, it has like 12 on the left and 6 on the product side. Yes, you don't even need to know that detail. Okay, so in the light-dependent reaction, the thing that is getting oxidized is water. H2O is getting oxidized and converted into oxygen. We're going to look at exactly what that process looks like here in a second. So we are oxidizing water, reducing NADP plus and ADP into NADPH and ATP. Those terms right there, oxidizing and reducing, you have got to get at least a general idea. So if something is oxidized, that means it's gone to a lower energy. Whereas reduced means it's kind of gained energy, higher energy state. Okay. So in this case, I've told you that glucose has a high energy state. Therefore, was it oxidized or reduced? If glucose has a high energy state, it must have been reduced. What compound is reduced? So we've already accounted for the H2O, the O2, the glucose. So what compound is reduced into glucose? Carbon dioxide, and that's happening in the place called the stroma. We'll look at that in more detail. And that reduction is going to make glucose and is coupled with the oxidation of NADPH, ATP into NADP plus and ADP, thus completing the circle. Okay. So I'm going to go into more detail here. Here's what I would suggest tonight or this afternoon during flex, or at any point that you have, whatever point you have that you have some free time, get a blank piece of paper, draw this. If you can draw this with all the details that are there right there, then you can fill in the other details with your head, that this is how you're going to keep things straight and not get confused between the light dependent, the light independent, where the different reactants are getting made and used. The very first thing you should do tomorrow for your quiz is draw this. The very first thing. Maybe put your name, and then draw this. Pens. Okay? Are you ready to get more detail in here? Okay. So what I'm going to do is zoom in first on this part right here, on what's going on with the thylakoid membranes and how the light-dependent reaction is able to make NADPH and ATP. Once we've done that, we'll flip over to the stroma. Okay? In this diagram, it's really easy to kind of view it as the thylakoids on the left and the stroma on the right, but in reality, in a chloroplast, everything's just kind of all jumbled in together, so it's really close. So let's go ahead and take a look at then what that looks like. What is that? That's my thylakoid membrane. And as we already saw, there's going to be three things, or a few things embedded in it. What's embedded? Pigments. And there's also this little thing here, and I'm going to draw one more thing underneath after. And I'm going to go backwards from the way that you've been seeing it, because I think it makes more sense. Let's go ahead and get these bad boys labeled. This is going to be photosystem. Let me put it somewhere else that makes more sense. Photosystem 2, and then photosystem 1. And photosystems are just a big old cluster full of chlorophyll or some kind of pigment. Just a bunch of pigments all kind of hanging out together. It's all good. This over here, does anyone know what the purple thing is? Not ATP synthase. We will draw that. Yes, it's important. No, that's not what it is. Good. NADP plus reductase. So to understand this process, we need a few players in place. We're going to put an NADP plus right here, attached to the NADP plus reductase. And then we're going to need some electrons. There's going to be a pair of electrons in photosystem 1 and a pair of electrons in photosystem 2. Where are we again? On the thylakoid membrane. The thylakoids are found in parts of the granum, right? But inside of the chloroplast. So we're just thinking on the inside of an organelle that is only in plants, just to keep everything in context here. Okay. And I am actually going to hit pause and make a new screen. I got 3 minutes left. Okay. All right. I said that I was going to work backwards. So usually in your Hogel, in your notes, in the video that you watched, it's showing it from photosystem 2 to photosystem 1 to the NADP plus reductase. I'm going to go right to left here, kind of. We're going to start with a photon of light. Okay, just a little bit of light coming down, popping down, hitting the photosystem. And that light is going to energize this pair of electrons here. Okay. This is no different than what we saw in cell respiration. When electrons get energized, they fall back down to a lower energy state to wherever they're getting pulled. It's kind of like the hottest guy. They're working their way to hotter and hotter guys. And photosystem 1, pretty good looking. But NADP plus, if you're a pair of electrons, that's where you want to be, is NADP plus. Okay? So that pair of electrons is going to slide on over to the NADP plus, hook up with that guy. That sounds worse than it's meant to be. And along with a hydrogen ion is going to form your NADPH. Okay.
I don't understand how the NAD is here, and does that happen inside of NAD plus?
It's kind of docked on it, kind of like a boat docked at a dock.
But how does it get
remember that the stroma is literally just right here. So as soon as that NADPH is made, it's going to be kind of reconverted back, and that energy is going to go elsewhere. But don't worry about that piece yet, because we're not in the light-independent reactions quite yet. Brittany? Yeah. It falls to where they're more accepted. An energy acceptor that's like pulling more at them. It's kind of like a stronger magnet. So that NADP plus is more electronegative than the photosystem 1, and so they go there. All right. I'm actually gonna hit pause.